people. Thank you for being with me again, yet on another Faith Friday. And I'll be reviewing yet another book. This time, we're going to get into something a bit deeper, people. We're going a bit deeper. You want to be strong in your faith? This book is going to tell you about people who came before you, who were strong in their faith, and the price that they paid for being strong in their faith. Because it's not always going to be good. We're not always going to have good times. We're not always going to enjoy standing for our faith. Sometimes it takes gusto. Sometimes it takes guts. Sometimes it takes intestinal fortitude to stand for your faith. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we are reviewing FOXE'S Book of Martyrs. FOXE'S Book of Martyrs. Now, this particular edition, I think this is the 12th edition. It was published in 1989 by Baker Books. This particular one is by Baker Books. 1989, 12th edition. And so, this book, FOXE'S Book of Martyrs, is exactly what it sounds like. You know, a martyr is someone who dies for what they believe in. And so we know as Christians, believers, that especially dealing with what's going on in Afghanistan and different places like that, martyrdom is something that we know very well. Hopefully, prayerfully, none of us know it firsthand. We don't have anyone that we know personally that has dealt with this. But persecution, we know that the Bible says that all who will live godly will suffer persecution. And some will suffer martyrdom. And so this book goes through the martyrdom of the early Christians. So it goes through, tells you how the disciples died. Now, mind you, this is Christian tradition. So basically, what we say about Christian tradition is not that we take it with a grain of salt, because we don't have a reason to believe that these people are lying, but we just don't have as much solid evidence, or like where the Bible says something, we believe it wholesale, no questions asked. When we go through church tradition, we can have our reservations about it, but generally we would take it as truth because we don't see a reason why they would lie about it. However, I'm not going to argue with anybody about it. Whether they say, well, you can't prove it. Okay, whatever. But anyway, FOXE'S Book of Martyrs recounts the burning of Rome by Nero, and how he blamed that on the Christians. He did it because he was angry, because he was demon possessed. He was a maniac. And he blamed it on the Christians. And then what happened after that was the people believed that the Christians did it. And so then they began to persecute the Christians and go kill the Christians and torture them and set them on fire and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. And it's set forth in this book. And man, you go through John Huss, how John Huss was martyred, John Wycliffe, Constantine, who else? William Tyndale. All of that's in here. And y'all know I talk about William Tyndale every now and then, especially at my church. When we pick up our Bibles, we should be grateful and thankful and appreciative of all that men have went through to get us that Bible. William Tyndale was the first one to print the New Testament in English, and he died at the stake for that. So then when we pick up a Bible or when we don't pick up a Bible, we should be thinking about it. That somebody's blood, it cost somebody their life to get us this Bible. We better not take it for granted. Many missionaries put themselves in harm's way daily, yearly, to take Bibles and books to countries where the gospel is outlawed. So then when you read FOXE'S Book of Martyrs, you're reading the stories of these men who have done this down through history, and it also makes you think about the people who are risking their life to get the gospel out today. So then we kind of want to remember that in this book, and it's not a hard reading book. It's a pretty thick book. It's a thick book. But it's not a hard read at all. But some of the images and or some of the tales will put some fear into your hearts to know that this is what they did to people who believed and honored Jesus Christ and were willing to die for him. So I recommend this book to every Christian believer, every single Christian believer. Every true believer of Jesus Christ needs to read this book. I believe it will do your heart some good. I believe it will give you the right mindset of how serious this is, the gospel that we preach, the gospel that we stand for, how serious this is. I think that this is something that you'll want to read, and read it. Maybe not for children, but as they get older, explaining to them how important their faith is, that people died for it. I think it would be worthwhile as maybe teenagers to explain this to them, that their faith is no joke, that we're not just doing this for our own good health. So again, FOXE'S Book of Martyrs is a good read and a should read. You should read this book.